Hello everybody, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. It's time we spoke about Newcastle, isn't it? It's taken me a couple of days because I wanted to just kind of, I don't know, soak it in really. Like there's obviously a lot of things to unpack here. You've got to talk about Newcastle fans, you've got to talk about competition, you've got to talk about the Premier League, you've got to talk about wider fan groups, you've got to talk about the safeguarding of the sport. And you've also got to kind of talk about the past, the present and the future. All of this is really important because what you often see with football fans and discussion around football fans is, one, hypocrisy. A lot of hypocrisy, right? And two, an idea that something needs to be kind of decided and you are either an angel or a devil. The truth here is that with this Newcastle takeover, for Newcastle fans, there is a severe amount, there has to be. And there will be Newcastle fans, I presume, who will go into the comments and go, I don't care, it's absolutely fine, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe you. Because it's just not that simple. And that's life, isn't it? You know, literally everything you ever dream of in your head is never how it comes to be. You go, oh, I'm going to go here, I'm going to do this, it's going to be glorious. I'm going to ask this girl out, and I'm going to be really suave, and da-da-da. Doesn't work, does it? It just doesn't work like that, okay? So the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, the experiences are never in anything, okay? So for what Newcastle fans have been craving for 14 years to get away from the paralysing apathy that Mike Ashley fostered at Newcastle, the dream was always something, you know, like the old days with Shepherd and Hall. You know, someone with money, with ambition, willing to spend that money, and it to be allowed to be still pure. This isn't pure. Now, let's just leave that. Let's just leave that as that, right? Because it doesn't make Newcastle fans bad or evil or whatever. It doesn't, none of this, all of that kind of sort of hyperbole is nonsense, right? But is the fairy tale pure? And will the fairy tale in the future be pure? It won't. And if you think you're going to be able to just kind of ignore this, ignore the association with the Saudi government, regardless of the assurances that have come from the Premier League that say that there isn't a connection between that and PIF, which is a Saudi Arabian government fund, regardless of that, this will follow you. And it's not your fault. It is not your fault. You just support your team. So I'm kind of touching on past, present, future here, right? So that feeling that you're in the present and the feeling that you had in the past and you wanted to get past, right, is so you wanted that euphoria. You wanted to have that chance, to have that euphoria, to have your club back. But at some point, and I tried to do it myself, I was thinking, oh, okay, surely, actually, we're missing the point here. The problem's actually over here. And I spent the weekend thinking about it, and I was being naive myself. Is like going, okay, hang on, we can find a way around this, where Newcastle fans can feel okay about this. And I think there is an element of, if you can compartmentalize your club, your fans, your people, and the people that care about it, then you can enjoy it. There's no reason why you can't enjoy this. And you've earned the opportunity to enjoy it. But what you can't do is get away from it, sadly. And it is sadly, and honestly, Newcastle fans, you can't get away from it. Because anything you've thought about Man City, anything that you've thought about Chelsea, anything that you thought years and years ago to a point about Jack Walker, slightly different, is how you will have to feel about your club. You know, when you go to bed at the end of it all, you just can't get away from it, sadly. So that's where this new angle comes in that I did want to talk about. Because the new angle saves us all, I think. I think it saves absolutely everyone. It allows the game to continue to thrive. Yes, it's complex. And yes, it could lead to some dangerous things. It could lead to a Super League if it got that far. But if this person has this amount of money, this person has this amount of money, this person has this amount of money, right? If there is a line in between all three of them that allows the company with, or the club with the most amount of money to not be able to spend 500 times the amount as the team at the bottom or the club at the bottom, that allows for competition. And the great thing about football is that it's low scoring, it's high variability. So in terms of safeguarding the sport, the focus is always at these top clubs. But what the focus should always be in terms of, is everyone okay? Is the competition healthy? Is the Premier League healthy? Is the Football League healthy? You need to look down, and you need to look at the entry-level positions. You need to look at Brentford, you need to look at Norwich, you need to look at Watford, you need to look at Burnley, you need to look at the teams coming up. And do they see a pathway or a possibility to get to the top, aside from having a country own them? Which is not what Newcastle have, apparently. Which is not what Newcastle have. That's been made clear. So we don't need to worry about that. But let's put it this way. The amount of money that a country has. I think that's safe, right? Hope so. The amount of money that... The only way... That's what blows my mind with this again and again. And this is what I mean when we're looking at the wrong areas of the game, right? The criteria to be a top side means that you have to have billions, and you have to have the money of a country. Just let that hang in the air for a second. The pathway to Crystal Palace, to Burnley, to Brighton, to all those teams, they can outsmart the opposition as much as they want, and that will get them close. But to safeguard competition, fortunately at the moment there is so much money in the Premier League that generally there's a dwarfing in the finances that these teams have over other countries, and so the pool of players that are available to them allows them to still, continue to thrive to a point to help close the gap, right? But for the competition to survive, and for these teams, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle United, and fans of those clubs, you have to understand that when you're looking or getting annoyed at the situation, in terms of money, let's put politics aside for a second, in terms of the amount of money that you guys had and you were able to plow into your club, it's the same thing. Okay? So Newcastle will challenge. This is one of those moments. This is 2004 when Abramovich comes in. The world will never be the same in terms of the footballing landscape. Newcastle will win the Premier League. Newcastle will win the Champions League. Newcastle will win every trophy available to them. And that, on its own, is amazing for Newcastle fans. And it's not their fault that they won't be able to truly, 100% with fairy tale purity enjoy it. But those are the facts. Those are the facts. But the competition needs to be safeguarded. And that comes from an independent regulator. And it comes from a salary cap. And it comes from, a transfer fee cap, right? To stop, it's forgetting the amount of money that the six have at the top, or whatever, the four, or whatever it is, right? Those big teams at the top. The problem is the distance between the top team and the bottom team in terms of the amount of money that is being spent. That is the problem. And what you do, if you implement this, is one, you will annoy some of these guys at the top. And the legal aspect of it is something that I don't know enough about. But I think what we all understand is that to allow it to remain as a sport, something has to be done here. Something has to be done. So that's when I'm talking about the future. When it comes to the future, if if I've got 300 billion, another team's got 23 billion, and another team's got 20 million, sorry. I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And it's only ridiculous if the 300 billion are allowed to spend it. It's only ridiculous if the 23 billion are allowed to spend it. So when we're looking in the wrong direction, and it's something that I think wasn't seen as bad a thing, but it's become so astronomical now. It's become so astronomical. If you think of the jumps, right? Think of Jack Walker and go, hang on a minute, he's got 300 million. And then Abramovich, what was it? I don't know, 4 billion, let's say. I can't remember how much Abramovich has got, right? But those jumps have always felt outrageous. But I think now the distance is just so far that for the long-term sustainability of competition, to allow the Derby counties to return and get themselves in a better situation, right? For Wolves to make their way through, how have they done it? Similar kind of thing. There is so much money. There is so much money in football now that the control has to be taken away from those with the most money. It has to. Think of Sunderland. Newcastle fans, deep down, you want a rivalry with Sunderland. You want one. You want a legitimate one. You don't want to just completely crush them. You don't. And if you are allowed to spend as much money as you want, which, I've heard from Simon Jordan, who obviously has experience in that, he's saying that Newcastle could spend $1 billion in January if they wanted to, because of the situation that they can't find themselves in with financial fair play at this moment in time. It's just not, it doesn't create a long-term sustainable competition. And that's what needs to happen. And whenever these things happen, what I would implore you to do is to think about the team that's 11th. Think about the Brightons. Think about the teams in the Championship trying to get up there. And imagine it was you. Because sport has to retain that equality. Of course, there's those that have bigger budgets than others. But when it gets to a point where it's just outrageous, it's a wider problem. And so control has to be taken away from those with the most money. And that is something that the world fights about every day. Every single day. But this is a first world country. And so I think there's an opportunity here. And it needs to happen quick. It needs to happen really, really quick. And you wonder, don't you? You just wonder why this Super League wanted to happen earlier. Now, looking at things like, the smaller bits of it, Bruce, I mean, I don't think he cares. I don't think anyone cares if he stays or goes. And I think the fact is that he will go. He won't be in charge in the next game. The money that they're going to spend on this thing, of course they're going to spend money on this stuff. And there's a blueprint. There's a reason why they've come in. There is a blueprint of how to be successful with this, and also to create great PR and also, great change in the city that they'll be in Newcastle. Same with Manchester City. And then also, the sustainability of getting your academy set up, getting yourself set up to be able to kind of buy a Romelu Lukaku and sell a couple of players and it not cost you anything because it's a well-run club. But it's much easier to be well-run when you've got that kind of money. And they have that money. And so there would be no excuse for them not to be in that situation and to get themselves into a fantastic area. But the time is now that football fans need to not let this go in terms of the government and the Premier League. I think that they're fully aware of the situation that we find ourselves in. And you need to look down the road. And it's something that was just a crack initially. And it's been opened and jammed. And it's just been widened and widened and widened. And it's dangerous. And what I would say is, for a Newcastle fan, coming back to how Newcastle fans must feel, you can't be blind to this. Okay, there has to be an acceptance of wow, we're buying it. Right? And again, there is huge hypocrisy in so many different people, myself included. When QPR got bought, it was like, here we go, Champions League, get in. So I am a hypocrite. Okay, we're all hypocrites. But what I would say to Newcastle fans is, okay, you're going to spend the most. But if you weren't able to spend 100 billion more than the next, how much sweeter will those trophies feel? A lot sweeter. A lot sweeter. So it's in the best interests of all of us in safeguarding our sport to retain fairness, to retain some element, something that we can at least spin to retain that fairness of competition. Because the Leicester City Premier League title, there's a reason why that is so electric in our minds, right? So pure in our minds in terms of that fairy tale. And again, call me naive, it's fine. But it's what matters to me. The reason I love the sport is I love glory. Newcastle fans have been starved of glory. They deserve glory. Let me reiterate that. Okay, the support they show their club is unbelievable. And for those that were boycotters, they showed that moral verve, right? To walk away. They will feel like they can rejoin. But if you want it to really feel good, then there has to be change within the league, in my opinion. There has to. Because it's like Usain Bolt on steroids. Like loads of steroids. Doing a 100-meter race against me. Does anyone want to watch that? More than once? I don't think they do. I really don't think they do. I think there's so many different elements to this, and there's the human rights side of it. I think you've got the face of this is obviously a woman. The two other investors in this are a Jewish family. So you would hope that if you're pure of heart and mind, that points to a change in Saudi mindsets. If not, it's incredibly brazen. Incredibly brazen. And life makes hypocrites of us all when it comes to all of those things, for sure. But the past is what it is. And what is nice for Newcastle fans is you can draw a line on that. The present is a weird place for you guys, where you have to deal with it. That's the reality, right? And I'm not passing judgment. I'm saying that it's something that has to be figured out by you guys, right? And I don't think there's a drawing of a line there. But what I do think is a solution to allowing Newcastle United fans to retain that pure feeling when they finally get the trophies that they've wanted for so long. And forget the trophies. It's about the moments, isn't it? It's about going to a cup final, winning it. It's about all of that and feeling like it was earned. For it to be earned, there has to be the control has to be outside of who's got the most money. Or at least it needs to be kept within a certain level of band to allow the sport to continue to thrive. That's how I feel about it. Yeah. So let me know what you think. Football continues. Football moves on. Newcastle are going to be a really exciting team to watch. And again, I'm going around in circles a little bit now. But it never ends, right? and we like that it never ends. But we want it to feel good too. I always think that's important, right? And if it doesn't feel good, there's probably a reason for that. If you like this video, then hit the like button. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sure it's going to be fascinating to have a little read. I will be reading all the comments as ever. If you enjoy the content, then please hit subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.